What's going on, boys? It is your favorite mums here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. So guys, I got a pretty important video for you today. I mean, they're all important, right? But this one's going to be talking about when to buy and sell your players, all right? So this is relating more to your teams. I mean, you could obviously use this for investment purposes as well, but this is also relating to your team. So a question I get asked a lot, guys, is, when's the best time to buy? When's the best time to sell? How long is my player going to hold his value for? All that kind of stuff, right? So that's what I want to go through, guys. I want to show you very, very simply. It's a pretty simple pattern in terms of what tier of cards and how long they hold their value for, all right? So the 3 tier of cards is what I would call it, is you've got your high tier. So you've got your Neymar, your Mbappe, your Messi, your Ronaldo, and your icons, your high tier. You've got your mid tier, which is, your Manes, your Varanes, your Salahs, your Sons, your Werners, that kind of, 300, 200, 400 kind of price range. And then you've got your lower tier meta cards, which are like your Rashfords, your Martials, your Gomez's, your 83, 84 kind of rated cards that are like around that, 100, 150 kind of margin area. So they're the 3 tiers of cards. Now, what I want to show you guys pretty simply on some graphs is how they're going to move and how long they're going to hold their value for. So what generally happens is cards take an uptrend, which is what we're seeing right now. Cards are trending upwards, and then they hit their peaks, and then from then onwards, throughout most of FIFA, they just slowly downtrend. So cards usually go up, hit a peak, and then just start to downtrend. All right, now there's fluctuations, obviously, in between. You're going to see ups and downs, but as you're going to see on these graphs, generally they go up in an upward trend over the first whatever amount of weeks, and then they downtrend. Now, what you're going to notice with these cards is the lower tier metas, their drop off is a lot sooner and a lot quicker. So they're going to rise for a much shorter time, hit a peak, and then they're going to start dropping, and they're going to drop at a steeper rate. Middle tier cards, and it kind of goes on that, like middle tier cards are going to last a little bit longer, and their rise is going to be a little bit longer. And then their drop off is going to be quick, but not as quick. And then the high tier cards are just going to, obviously even longer. They're going to last longer before the drop off. So it's kind of like the length of the drop off before the drop off is longer based on the higher tier cards. Now, quick reasoning, I want to just give you guys a quick reasoning for that is basically money. You got to think about people upgrading their teams, right? People are buying these players. The reasons why your Neymars, your icons, they continue to rise for a longer period of time is because people can't afford them. So at the start of the game, people can't afford those players, so they're cheaper. Now, people, as we get into the weeks, week 3, week 4, week 5 of FIFA, they start being able to afford these players. So they start buying these players and they start upscaling, right? Until a certain point. While with, your low meta cards, people buy them at the start of the game. So they go up really, really quickly. They rise really quickly up to here, and their drop off is sooner and quicker because people will buy those players, but then by week 2, week 3, people have kind of out-used those players, They're now ready to upgrade to the next tier, which is your Varanes and stuff. So those start dropping off quickly, and then they upgrade to their Varanes. So it's kind of like an upgrade scale, People buy your Martials and your Rashfords first, then they upscale to your Varanes and things like that. So the Rashfords and the Martials drop off, the Varanes to keep going. Then they jump off those cards, to your next tier, to your icons and to your stuff. So they drop off and the other ones keep rising. Anyways, let me show you in a visual to make it much, much easier for you guys, all right? So I'm going to flip you guys over to the desktop. Now, I've split these into the 3 tiers. So this is FIFA 20, by the way. We've got Rashford and Martial, Varane and Mane, and then Mbappe and Neymar. So I've kind of split it into the 3 tiers. But obviously, there's a lot of cards that fall into those tiers, So under this tier would be, for instance, in FIFA 21, would be like your Diego Carlos, your Gomez. They would all fit in this tier. In this tier, you'd have like your Varane again this year, your Ramos, your Mane, your Werner, your Son. You'd have that kind of tier of players. And in this tier, you'd have the 4 big guys in like Yedda. In terms of like Mbappe, Neymar, Ronaldo, Messi, and then even your icons as well. Your meta icons, your Rio Ferdinand and stuff like that. All right, so let's start with the low tier. This is their graph from the start of last year, okay? So as you guys can see, this is the FIFA release right there. Friday to September 27th was FIFA release. So they rise, he holds, and then the drop-off comes. Now, what you normally find is these cards hold their value. They rise. They normally hit their peak around this first weekend league. They normally hold their value for a second weekend league, and then they start drop off. So these cards normally have a lifespan of a couple weeks into the game before you start seeing them drop off. So look, as you can see, this is release. That's first weekend league right there, which is where we're heading right now, guys. We're heading into our first weekend league this Friday. Okay, so that's a equivalent from last year. So he hits his peak going into that first weekend league. He does dip, obviously, after weekend league, as you usually see, but he comes back up. So, look, he's not as high, but look, he hits a 91 here, and at that when going into the second week, he's 88. So, you know, he kind of holds his value into the second weekend league. But it's after that second weekend league that you just basically see drop-offs. And like I said, steep drop-offs. You know, with Halloween promo, which is all around here. And he doesn't hold his value much more than 2 weekend leagues. And you're going to find a similar thing with this Martial. Once again, full release is right there. Rises into the first weekend league. That's Thursday, the day before the full weekend league. You then see the dip going into after the first weekend league. You see the dip going into Sunday. And then he rises up again and kind of holds his value. So look, he's 61 there the second week. He's 67 there. So basically what you're finding with these cards is week 1, this weekend league, guys, Thursday, Friday, this weekend league, they will probably hit around their peak. Second weekend league, look, each year is different, slightly different, but this is normally a trend. If you go back to FIFA 19 as well, this trend is kind of the same. So you're going to find probably they're going to peak weekend 1 or so. They're probably going to drop into Sunday, which we always see, and they're going to rise up again into the next weekend league. And there might be a little bit of drop off. Say a card's 150k, the second week league, he might be 140. But generally the value is similar. All right. And it's probably after that second weekend league is when you're going to start seeing a much larger drop off from these cards, right? So my analysis is kind of these lower tier meta cards have a lifespan of 2 weeks. This weekend, you're probably going to see them hit, one of their higher price. They will probably hold that value a little bit into the second weekend league. And then I think you're going to start seeing these cards start to really drop off. And as you can see, guys, the drop-offs are quite significant. So, that's second weekend league right there. Third weekend league is there. So 2 weeks after that, the card is all the way down from, it took 2 weeks for the card to drop from 60 to 30. It took 2 weeks. All right, so that's a pretty quick drop-off. Now, let's look at your middle tier cards. What you're going to notice, guys, is the same kind of rise and drop off, but it's going to be extended. So rather than a 2 week, kind of holding value, these cards are going to hold their value for a little bit longer, 3-4 weeks before you start seeing that drop off. And as you can see here, that's full release there. Weekend League 1 is there. So you normally see a second rise into the second weekend league. Second weekend league there. So this card's not hitting its peak until about the second weekend league. All right. And then it holds its value into third weekend league is there. Pretty much holds its value. Fourth weekend league is here. Still kind of holding its value. And then you start seeing the drop off. That's fifth weekend league here. Holds its value. And then you see the big drop off after the fifth weekend league. All right. Mane is something pretty similar, guys. As you can see here, that's the start of the game. First weekend league, he goes up. Second weekend league, he goes even higher. Third weekend league, he actually goes even higher. So as you can see from the similarity between Varane and Mane, these cards are hitting their peak price in that second to third weekend league. All right. So while the Rashfords and Martials were hitting their peak price weekend league 1, holding weekend league 2, then dropping, these cards are actually continuing to rise and hitting their peaks weekend league 2 or 3. Then they're kind of holding their value. Fourth weekend league, fifth weekend league, sixth weekend league, and then you see the drop off. So Varane held his value for 5 weekend leagues. Mane held it for about 6 before you then started seeing the drop off. All right. So as you guys can see, there's a lot of similarities. Rashford and Martial had a lot of similarities. They both peaked at week 1, held to week 2, then dropped off. Varane and Mane, slightly different, but pretty similar. Peaked at week 2 or 3, weekend league. And then by about weekend league 5 or 6 is where they started to drop off. So this just gives you guys an idea of buy times, all right? You're either buying, you know, or like even hold times. People are like, oh, well, look, I don't want to lose money on my cards. Well, this gives you an indicator. If you're holding Varans and Manes, you know, you've got about 5 weeks before you really have to start, before you might think, okay, well, maybe I sell, let them drop, and then buy back again. Your Rashfords and stuff like that, you've got a lot less time, you know? You might look at selling them by weekend league 2 and then letting them drop off. That's up to you guys. You know, I like to just hold my team through, but this just gives you guys a general idea how it works. And then you've got your high tier cards. They're going to hold their value even longer. So while Mane and Varane held their value until about week 5, weekend league 5, these guys you're probably going to see hold their value to weekend league 7 or 8 before they start to drop off. And as you can see right here, that's day 1. And these cards just continue to rise. So this doesn't hit its peak till, that's weekend league 1, weekend league 2. There's just general up and downs, weekend league 3, weekend league 4, weekend league 5. So this is where you start seeing Mane and Varane drop off. He's actually hitting his peak, weekend league 6. So he actually hits his peak in weekend league 6. And then even here, that's not really a drop off because that value right here is pretty similar to what it is right now. So there's a bit of a drop off, but he's still a pretty solid price compared to the start. It's not till about here you see the drop off, and then look, that's when you really see a drop off, and you can see this card going down to, you know, in the 6s. But he's still up around that million value going into December. So it's not until Team of the Year that you see these cards really drop off. And obviously the reason why is because these are your top dog cards, your icons, your Manes, your Neymars. They're the top dog cards. Even with informs and stuff like that, they are your top dog cards until about Team of the Year. Once Team of the Year comes out, you get the Team of the Year cards. People jump off your Mbappes, your Neymars, and they start getting your Team of the Year Mbappe, your Team of the Year Neymar, your Team of the Year Mane. They start getting on those Team of the Year cards, right? And that's why you see the big drop off on these cards. And Neymar's going to be the same. Look, that's day 1, start of the game. And look, he just continues to rise. Weekend League 1, Weekend League 2, Weekend League 3, Weekend League 4, Weekend League 5, Weekend League 6. He's probably peaking around Weekend League 6 to Weekend League like 7. Between 6 and 8, he's like hitting his peaks, which is pretty similar to what Mbappe was. I think Mbappe was week 6 or 7. He hit his peak. All right, and then it's not until again, look, same time, December 6th, Weekend League, he starts taking the dip after December 6th Weekend League. When did Mbappe take his big dip? Look, December 6th Weekend League, and then you start seeing the big dip. So they both dipped at the same time, and it's pretty much the start of the Christmas promo leading into Team of the Year. And it's because obviously everyone's prepping for Team of the Year. Everyone's trying to get liquid. There's always a market crash going into like Bookmers and Team of the Year and stuff like that. So people are preparing for that, and they're trying to get their money ready for Team of the Year. So there you go, guys. Quick rewraps. Early tier, Gomez's, Diego Carlos's, you know, those kind of tier cards. Week 1, week 2, then you're going to see a drop off. Mane's, Varane's, your mid-tier meta, hold their value to maybe week 4, week 5 even. Then you see the big drop off. And then your low, like high-end tier cards, your Mbappes, your Neymars, they will hold their value until probably early December. And then once people start prepping for Team of the Year, then they drop off. All right, guys. That just gives you an idea, man. If you want to buy these cards, if you want to sell these cards for your team, use them in your team, it just gives you guys an idea of exactly when you need to be prepared for when they're going to drop, you know, how long they're going to rise to and stuff like that. All right. So yeah, if this video helps, guys, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.